In any interaction, there are 5 steps to make sure that we really nail getting something done in a conversation. We start the conversation, we assess the wants and needs, we lead them through a presentation, eliminate any fog, and secure the conversation on a high note. It's kind of like, and let me use a metaphor, of a puzzle. See, in any interaction, if we're going to start it off right, let's start the conversation right. Have you ever been in an interaction where you're sitting there for about 15 minutes going, why am I here? Why are we talking about this? Do I even have to be in this meeting? You're experiencing the fact that we didn't start off strong. So in the first step, start the conversation. I want you to bring up the purpose and the importance of the conversation. It's like showing the front of a puzzle box. We're going to accomplish this puzzle today. We're not working on this one or on this one or on this one. This is what we're trying to accomplish. I'm going to use the words purpose and importance. The purpose of our meeting is to do this, and it's important because I'm working with adults. The more they understand the reason for the meeting, the more buy-in I have. When there's clarity for a strong start, we don't waste time down the road, so start strong. The second step is to assess the wants and needs, and that's like taking the puzzle pieces and putting them out on a table and getting all the pieces of the conversation on the table first. There's nothing worse than starting to put a plan together and you end up saying, well, that won't work because, or you know what, we tried that 3 weeks ago and this is the problem. What's that a sign of is that you didn't get all of the pieces on the table. And when I say pieces, I'm talking about the facts, the figures, the issues, and the concerns. So that's one big tip, is to make sure that you kind of know what to cover before we start talking solutions. Get all the puzzle pieces on the table before we go to solution. And one big tip is make sure you've got both sides of the issue. I want my facts, figures, issues, and concerns, and I want your facts, figures, issues, and concerns. You'll know when you're off when you go to do a solution and they don't have a lot of buy-in, mainly because their side of the story hasn't been heard from the beginning. You're just plowing through your needs and you're not getting both sides. If you want to build true interaction, ensure that both sets of the issues get on the table before you start putting the solution together. Then we put together a solution. Nice. So if we have all sides of the story on the table, then coming up with a solution makes sense to both parties because all the issues and all the facts and all the concerns are on the table first. Then you put a plan together. And some big tips are, when you're putting the plan together, is ensure that you go there first, especially if you're in a leadership position. And what I mean by go there first is to seek more than tell. When we have the issues on the table, especially if I'm in a leadership position, I may start off with, how should we approach this? What ideas do you have? It's not that I don't have anything to contribute, but I want to start the conversation going to them first, because if I'm in a position of leadership and I throw in my 2 cents first, it has a tendency to become, well, that's what I'm secretly saying is the way to go, when that might not be what I mean at all. So to keep a conversation really a dialogue, go there first. Seek more than tell. 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to say something that you would have said anyway, but because they said it, they have buy-in. So put a plan together that everybody's on board with. Then after you get a good plan, you eliminate any fog. There's nothing worse than leaving a conversation where you're unsure of what your role is when we leave. And you know you've heard this before when you go to ask for what you required from somebody after the last meeting and they look at you with that blank face and go, I didn't know you wanted that. Was that me? You wanted that for me? That's a classic example of before we left, we didn't make sure that we were all on the same page. So confirm, confirm, confirm. Before I leave any interaction, I'm even going to say a couple of times, let me make sure I got this straight. If I was wise enough to take notes, I'm going to go through my notes just to make sure you're clear on what's expected of you, I'm clear on what's expected of me, or any type of follow-up, we're all on the same page. Then it's time to wrap up our conversation. And that is, here's some tips. End on a high note. It's about hope. Usually when we're trying to get something done, I want to end on a high note. And there's 2 things that you can usually really emphasize, either the plan itself or the person that you're working with. So I'm going to end on a high note just by saying something like, hey, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate your input on this. I think it's going to be a great plan. Or you emphasize what you put together. Look, I know this was challenging. I know it was rough for you to go through, but I think we've put together something really strong, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. So thank you for your time. So you either emphasize the plan itself or you emphasize the person themselves, but you always end on a high note because the interaction should end in hope.